Yeah, man. Today's topic: freaking interviews, dog.
Yo, fucking interviews. Alright, so tell me how. Tell me
Let
how.
him introduce the audience.
I mean, it's mad casual, so it is what it is. No intro required. We're just gonna jump right on in, man. So
No, man. Fuck these interviews, yo. Fuck these companies and like they're recruiting people. All right, maybe not the recruiting people. They're probably told to do this shit, but it's mad annoying. Cause I had an interview in May, and they called me up while I was at my internship, and then they was asking me like, a couple of questions about what I do, what I did in my major, and like the stuff that I enjoy about IT and all that good stuff. And then like I'm thinking the interview was going good and whatnot, and I'm like, all right, cool. So everything seems all right. And then she was asking me if I was able to, if they were to hire me, what time would I be able to start? I'm like, well, shit. Once I finish my interview, just give me a date, and we straight, probably within the next month and whatnot. And she was like, hi, well, are the hiring manager or whoever the fuck she is, excuse my French, she's on vacation for the week, and when she gets back, then we'll let you know we'll let you know all the info and see if we'll progress with the interview session and whatnot. And I was like, all right, cool, awesome. Didn't hear back from them, and I'm pretty sure that I got an email from some company. I'm not sure which one it was, because granted, the person that called me, I didn't even know which company she worked for. I was just like, all right, whatever, well, just give me what you got. And they said that they weren't gonna progress with the interview. They were looking for a more better candidate, and I was like, all right, cool. So I'm guessing that it was that company that had actually called me, because I still haven't heard back from the other 500 companies that I applied to. So that's a different story. So then, like 2 weeks ago, I applied at my boy TJ's position, at TJ's job, and there was two positions: system administration and software engineer. And like the next day, chick called me up or sent me an email, said she wants to do an interview. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm good for next Thursday. I'm like, all right, cool, I got this shit. My background is basically on network or system administration, network security, and all that good stuff. Not really software engineer. It just seemed like an entry-level position, so I was like, all right, let me just try that shit. And then that Saturday, I got an email from, I'm guessing, the hiring manager or whatever, telling me that they were going to look for somebody else for the position. They were going to decline my position but keep it on file. And I was like, all right, well, what the fuck? I got an interview with these guys on Thursday. Like, what's good with that? But then that's when I emailed old girl back, and then she said, yeah, our interview is for the software engineer position. And I was like, well, why the fuck are you guys interviewing me for that? Clearly my resume says nothing about coding, nothing about software engineer. It's just administration, networking, all that stuff, and y'all rejected me for that. So that's what pissed me off first. And then coming to the interview part, she's just asking me, do I know this language? Do I know that language? Do I know that language? I'm like, no. I wish I did, but I don't. If I could possibly, like, given the time, I would learn the stuff just flat out and just learn it and be perfect at it. But, I guess that wasn't enough. So she just told me the same. She asked me when I would be able to start. And I said August, which is in 2 weeks. And she was like, all right, well, our hiring manager, he's on PTO right now, and once I talk to him, he'll let me know, and I'll email you back about what we will do from there. I'm like, all right, cool. Not even this old girl texted me back 2 hours later and said that we gonna look for somebody else for the position. We will keep your information on file.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, cool, that's what's up. You could have just told me from the jump that you wasn't gonna take me. That's the shit that really pisses me off. You could have told me from the jump. Not sitting here making me wait. You knew from the second I said I didn't know this language, I didn't know that language, I didn't know that language. You knew that you wasn't gonna take me. You could have just said, I'm sorry, sir, but you don't have enough experience in the languages, and we need somebody that has a little more experience in these languages. So we cannot take your position, but we will keep your resume on file if anything else comes up. You could have told me that, and I would have been like, shit. Well, fuck, I guess, It's whatever, but it's all good. But nah, you wanna lead me on and thinking that I have some type of chance where clearly I didn't. I knew that I didn't, but you gave me a little bit of hope, and shit just went right back in my face. I don't understand what's so wrong with companies and not being just straightforward.
I mean, well, I think a lot of it is that they don't want to put out a bad image. I mean, because even with my company, which for the purpose of this public podcast shall remain anonymous to those who don't know where I work, um, due to certain people that are at my company, one of the people we interviewed actually left a really scathing review of the company because of that person in the interview. And I mean, granted, it's as far as I know, it's only on one website, so it's not like it's all the way out there, and people are out here like, oh my god, what's going on over there, and all this stuff. But at the same time, I guess I can kind of imagine why someone would want to be like, okay, well, we're not gonna make this a bad experience for you. But at the same time, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page with you, Blue. Like, if I were interviewing for my position that I currently have, and I wasn't qualified for it, I would want to be told, like, you're not qualified for it, because that at the very least sets me up to prepare myself to be qualified in some capacity the next time I apply to a similar position.
Exactly.
But of course, the interviewer doesn't think that way, because they're not thinking of, well, I mean, I guess they're not supposed to think of your well-being, because I guess it's not really their job to. But, out of human decency, it'd be nice to think that, hey, I know that you're interviewing for so-and-so position and you're trying to do such and such, but we're really looking for this. Typically, for this position, we're looking for these things. I actually had to, in a bit of, I guess, a story for myself. There was a guy whose mom or his aunt or somebody worked at the company, and they were interviewing for a position in our department. So, I mean, like, didn't go through the conventional interviewing process at all. Like, it was really just, my mom wants to see if I can possibly start working here to get more experience. So it was instead of the entire team, it was legitimately just me and my boss sitting in my boss's office talking to this person. And I mean, his resume was decent, but he also didn't really know everything it would take to do the job. So instead of just carrying out the interview normally, like, once I saw the way that he was conducting himself, and I was like, okay, well, he seems kind of confused about some of this stuff, I just shift gears, and I was like, okay, well, typically with this kind of position, we're looking for these things. So if you're applying to places in the future, you may want to, like, highlight these or shift around your experience so it looks this way. Because I personally understand the struggle. Like,
Yeah.
I can relate to the struggle. The struggle is not foreign to me at all. So I don't know. I personally don't understand why. I mean, I agree. I don't understand why it would be so difficult to just be like, hey, you're not really what we're looking for right now.
Dude, let me kind of piggyback off that and kind of what you said earlier, Blue. I think everyone in our little small group or whatever has applied to at least like 500 companies and didn't even get a phone call back, let alone an interview. You know what I'm saying?
Like, that's the most frustrating part about it too. Like, at least call me and be like, "Here, we got your resume."
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, it's like, dude, like, and just like what you said, like, at least have the decency and consideration to tell us, yes, you got the job, or no, you didn't get the job. You know what I'm saying? And, like,
don't wait me waiting like 5 months. Don't sit here and still have the freaking position still open, still on your website, and then you email me talking about some. Oh yeah, we got all the positions. Why is it still on the website then,
bruh? I just can't. I just had to deal with that shit the other day. I'm like, dude, okay, well, clearly you didn't hire anybody, so why can't I have it? At the very least, I don't know everything in the world. I would love to at least, have the opportunity to take on another role or position. I mean, just give me a break. Like, let's be real. Everyone gets training from somewhere. Not everything people learn is strictly from school. Maybe doctors, maybe that's a different case, but the experience is all that really matters. And just like hold on. Just like my first video, it's like, where in 2016 do we get experience in order to get experience? Because, people like Blue and I, we're applying for entry-level positions. How is there a prerequisite to entry-level shit? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like, okay, so what's crazy is I've been seeing this happen at my company. Like, that's what's crazy about it to me. Like, they'll put up an entry-level position, but it'll be like, we're looking for recent college graduates with 4 years of experience in the workplace. And I'm like, pause. Do y'all not know what goes on in college anymore? You don't have time to get experience in the workplace. You don't have time to be like, hey, because I even had to talk to one of my coworkers about it, where they were like, well, you know, I'm just hoping when my son gets to college, he'll be able to find a job and, you know, start being able to support himself. And I was like, oh, well, what college is he going to? Georgia Tech. Bro, where are you going to get money? Like, what, are you going to work in one of the many office buildings in downtown? I'm like, what? No. There's no time to become a fully college-educated graduate in a competitive workforce, in a competitive workplace, and simultaneously get enough experience to qualify for some of the ridiculous requirements for entry-level positions.
Hey, check this out. I'm about to post a incredible and truthful meme, and this really defines our lives right about now.
Exactly. That's like, I don't understand like how some positions could just be entry level position and you're asking for so many years of experience. Like I look at some of the entry level positions and they talk about we need someone with 8 years experience. I'm like, what?
Yep.
Fuck it then. Like, what are you asking me right now?
Yeah.
It really blows my mind. It's just like these 4 years in school, I was trying to get my life together. It wasn't until like 3.5 years ago or 3.5 years ago that I finally knew that, you know, IT was what I wanted to do. And from then, I had to learn all the basic shit. Like, I'm not like all those other people that freaking started out in IT and, you know, knew about IT since they were like freaking 5 years old and stuff like that.
Right.
Exactly. I had some of those friends that I graduated with like this past May, and they know a lot. Like, they make me seem like freaking SpongeBob when he was a caveman and whatnot. I'm just sitting here like, oh, what IT? And it's just frustrating because it's like those people, I know that they'll get jobs quickly because they've been working with IT for long as hell. They've been making a whole bunch of cool ass softwares and websites and stuff, and then networking shit. And then I'm just sitting here just still trying to figure out how the hell to set up a damn computer.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't mean that my work ethic is going to be any less. It doesn't mean that I'm slower than they are. I just started mad late, but like, give a nigga a chance. Something.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, like, I actually just wrote a short story, a very short story. It's only like 3 pages. I need to make it like 7, honestly. But, you know, that's what editing is for. But one of the, like, it's the boss in this short story is like a caricature of all the negative things I've seen, not just like personal experience, but also like I've seen and heard from bosses. And one of the things I made sure to include in there is like, I can't stand you millennial types who think you know everything. I can drum you out the door in a minute. And when I showed it to somebody, they were like, oh, you know, that's not how it really goes in the workplace. I'm like, no, really.
No.
Like, there's especially in you guys' field in IT, I'm lucky. Like, I'm in writing, so it's not as heavily, like, it's not as dense of a field. But in IT, there's definitely a perception where it's like, if not you, then somebody else.
And Joey, we definitely talked about this when you came over that one time, how like older people literally look at millennials like they're just some kind of brand new creature or something like that. And I'm like, dude,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like we're the same, but again, you know, don't criticize us. You know, don't forget where we came from. We were raised by you, so you know, don't get on my back about it.
One of the things that blew my mind, and I think I was actually kind of proud of myself because I really put her on pause when it happened. There was a lady in our break room, and occasionally I go in there and I just like sit down and write a little bit or whatever. And she was talking, I kind of got pulled into the conversation a bit, and she was saying, well, you know, I'm glad that I can come out here and see a young man who's working at a job and being consistent because, you know, your generation is the one that got like participation trophies and all this stuff, and they don't know the value of hard work. And I cut her short, and I was like, wasn't it your generation who asked the schools to give us participation trophies?
Yes, it was.
There's no 3-year-old out there saying, I want a trophy too. There was some parent who was like, hey, my kid needs something.
Nah. Exactly.
And she just kind of looked at me, and I was like, no, seriously, don't blame that on us. It is not our generation who set things up. It'd be different if this was like 10 years into the future. And they're like, well, wasn't it your generation that made the world go to crap because everybody was playing Pokemon Go? Okay, that's us. That was us.
Yeah. Like we got to take responsibility for that.
Like we'll take responsibility for that one. That was our fault. But some of the stuff I hear about our generation, quote unquote, where it's like we're uninspired and we don't have, like, we're not motivated to stay at a company and we always want credit for things, that was conditioned into us by the generation before us. Right. Like by parents and teachers and educators and all these people who are telling us you can do, like, and not that they're wrong, but you can do anything you want, and all of this stuff where it actually gets into your head and you start believing, like, okay, if I do end up in a job situation where my boss is treating me like crap, I will just leave because I can get a job anywhere. Because we were told that when we were in high school, constantly. Yeah. So it's just out here trying to live the reality that we were lied to about. And then when it comes to, like, and then people try to come down on us because they're like, okay, well, you know, your generation is still living at home with your parents and all this other stuff. Like, I'm still living with my parents because I'm trying to save money.
Exactly.
Well, because on top of that, we kind of have to. Like, we kind of have to because everything is going up except our salaries. So it's like we can't even do much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, and I think, Joey, we talked about this before as well. How, you know, our generation, yes, we really, really, really care about the actual work we do. Like, 9 times out of 10, we're not gonna just kiss ass everywhere. I mean, we have to do it eventually, especially starting off in like a new field. But in essence, we care more about the work we do than the actual, like, company as a relationship. Like, people live for their companies, and I just find it just stupid. You know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong, I love the work we put in, I love the work we do. But the actual culture and the people, honestly, we can really care less about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's directly at odds with a lot of people, which I guess to kind of like spin this all the way back to the original topic, I think is one of the things that really can hold people our age back in interviews, because they're looking for, like, I've noticed in interviews, because I've had to sit in on quite a few interviews, the people who are hiring are looking for people that already work there. And what I mean by that is they're trying to hire somebody that will fit into how the company currently looks, not how the company will look. Because if you think about it, like, let's say they put out a position for software engineer, one of the positions that you applied to, Blue, they will be looking for somebody personality-wise who would fit into the current corporate culture. Now, logic would tell you, if we're hiring all these kids out of college, our culture is going to inevitably change. Right. But that's not how they think. They think like, okay, well, I don't know if you will fit in here because you don't seem like the type who's overly dedicated to a company. You're right, I'm not. Because I have no reason to be. Because your company will fire me or downsize or upsize or whatever size they may end up doing, and I could be out of a job in a heartbeat. And even if I bring up something like that at work, they're like, oh, well, you know, things are safe here. And I'm like, I've read stories and heard from people who are like, well, you know, Bob's been here for 34 years, but we had to fire him because we couldn't promote him anymore. Like, what? And you think I'm gonna be loyal to you?
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, how the heck? How you gonna do shit like that? It's just crazy.
Yeah, like, and I think it really ends up coloring the way that some people our age interview, because it's almost like, I know when I was interviewing around, I kind of went into a lot of my interviews on edge, where I was like, I don't want to be asked the wrong question. Like, in the interview for the job I currently have, one of my former coworkers, he's no longer at the company. For those of you out there in podcast land, went to Georgia Southern, graduated with a degree in writing and linguistics, focused in creative writing, minor in philosophy. So, like, I am the liberal arts, like, quantified into a human being. But I explicitly told the people that I was interviewing, for the company I currently work at, I understand that this position, which is a tech writing position, does not entail any creative writing. I feel that my skills in creative writing will translate extremely well into tech writing because I'm a solid writer. I'm a good writer. One of the people in that interview cut me off and said, well, you know, you can't sit at your desk and just write stories all day. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, I know. Like, did you expect me to be shocked and like my eyes to pop out of my head and be like, oh God, no, I can't do what I want? Like, what? No, I know. Like,
Like clearly, we came to work to work. What do you expect us to do?
Yeah,
exactly. Like, and there's also that perception where it's like, oh well, they're just here to collect the paycheck. No, I mean, I guess maybe somebody out there is.
Ultimately,
no.
Yes, but yeah,
but not in the way that they imply it.
Right.
Yeah,
not in like I would just sit at my desk and do nothing. Because I've told some of you guys, like, I've been called lazy and complacent and all this other stuff, and that's just not who I am in any way, shape, or form.